So I did a lot of research, and there I've seen that they were brewing with Gruut herbs instead of hops.
Hello and welcome to Best Sips Worldwide. I'm your drinking companion, Susan Schwartz, an American travel writer living in London. Thanks to my mother's love of martinis, the first words I spoke were shaken, not stirred, and I've been obsessed by the history of cocktails ever since. Through the years, I've been lucky enough to sip some of the best made by the best. Hear that sound? It's time to cozy up to the bar and let me introduce you to the movers and shakers of the world's most famous watering holes. Beer without hops? Even after meeting our guest today, Annick De Splenter of Gruut brewery in Ghent, I couldn't believe her story until I tried the beer itself. Close your eyes, take a sip, and all you taste is great beer. She's with us today to tell us how she came up with the idea of making beer with herbs in the first place.
Okay, well, my father, I've been born in a brewery. I'm living on top of the brewery in an apartment. And my father, when I was 7 years old, he always said to me, you have to taste this and smell this. And he always, I was also very interested in the beer business. Also on Sunday when we came together with the family, the brothers and the sisters, we came all together, and they were all small breweries. And so we were discussing business, the production, how ameliorate the production. And
were these home breweries or these were proper
that was
sold beer in town breweries?
Yes, like Karmeliet was there, the Hommel beer, very known beers. And we were always talking about ameliorating the process. And I was always with the man, and the side of the man when women were talking about something else. And I was always interested in the talking about the brewery and the business.
Do you remember liking it at such a young age?
Oh, yes.
When you tasted? Yeah.
Yes. And also he forced me. Not he didn't force me, but he said try also different kind of wines. And it was not only beer; it was a little bit of everything. And then he talked about it. You taste this now, and that's how I got such a full palate.
When do you think you can remember how old you were when you started realizing the difference between beers?
I was approximately 16, 18. And then when I started realizing what was really going on, also with the studies that I was doing, I applied them on what he learned before. So it was easier for me to recognize and to see, okay, so that is the production, and that's how we have to produce, and the chemical side of it. And then I saw immediately the comparison with the tasting of the beer.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said your studies. Did you study beer making?
Yes.
I mean, you knew immediately, I'm going to do this. This is going to be my life.
Well, I did first some experience, I studied economics, and then I went abroad, and I went to the USA, to Lyon in France, to see a little bit around. And when I came back then from all those studies, I said, now I'm going to study the brewing engineer. So I restarted studying, but...
and there's actually a course in...
Yes, it's a brewing engineer. It's
a brewing engineer.
Yeah.
And right, because Ghent is a university town.
Yes. Here in Ghent, it's a big biochemie studies, and then the last year is brewing. you can choose for an option brewing, and that's where but I was determined then, and I said, well, I'm back here in Belgium now. I'm going to do this, what my father did, because this is my road. That's the thing I know. This is my interest.
Now, did you work with your dad?
Yeah, I've been working with him for 6 to 8 years, something like that, and then we sold the brewery. We sold the brewery together because our position in the market wasn't too good. It was too small and too big at the same time to compete with the big breweries. And so we decided to sell. And then I said, whoa, what did I do now? I sold the brewery, and what I'm going to do now? And that's why I was walking around here in the city, and I said, well, there were 380 breweries in the past, and the city of Ghent, it's a shame that they don't have a brewery anymore. And
so there were 280 before?
Yes.
To nothing?
Yeah, everything disappeared. Mm-hmm. And there were no brands, no brand from Ghent anymore. And so I said, well, I'm going to restart a small brewery on a small scale.
How long was it between you sold and then you had this idea?
Well, the idea was a day off.
A day. You're like, okay, I'm not going to take any vacation. I'm going right back.
Right there. But at the same time, I couldn't start yet because, I didn't have the material. I didn't have a recipe. I didn't have a brand, and I didn't have the money yet. So I had to go for a bank loan, and it was a lot of preparation to do before. So I only started 2 years after that.
And did you know immediately what kind of beer you wanted to make?
No. I first wanted to make a normal 5% alcohol beer. That's what I knew I wanted to do. But the Gruut concept, I didn't know yet, because that was in my research in the Middle Age books, and in my research where all those old breweries were located, and those 260 breweries in the past were located. And I was looking for a brand name. And because I had to start from zero, so I did a lot of research, and there I've seen that they were brewing with Gruut herbs instead of hops. And I said, how is this possible? So I got very fascinated by the fact that in the Middle Age, some brewers under the French government had to brew with herbs instead of hops.
And just back to the 280. When were there 280 breweries in Ghent?
In the Middle Ages.
Oh, so in the Middle Ages.
Yeah. All along the river.
And they had records?
Yes. So I've looked up everything, and I went to the city to ask some explanation, because they have a lot of information here. And then I went back to my professor, asking him, "Can you help me to do some research on herbs instead of hops?" And then he was telling me, "It's not possible. You can't brew without hops. It's not possible. But I know that you're a very stubborn girl, and you can use my laboratorium, and we see how far it brings you." And
in the books that you found in the research, did it tell what herbs they used?
Sometimes it was free. It wasn't a real recipe, but sometimes they were talking about that herb or that herb. And so I started with those herbs to do some research, how they smelled in a beer, how they tasted in a beer, how much bitterness that they gave, because we in the beer business we need some bitterness. And that's how it started. So I took extractions from every herb, and then and so we went further till we came to a recipe that was 2 years that I worked on that. So another 2 years that I work on a recipe that was smelling good, tasting good, also with a tasting panel of friends and a professional tasting panel. Every month we came together to taste and to see what was the result and to adapt the brew. So each time I was brewing again, and yeah, it was a whole...
And what does your professor say now?
He's very proud now.
I'm sure. He says, yes, you can make a beer without hops.
Yeah, right. And he was then at the end, he was very behind it as well,
course.
because there was a day that I wanted to stop because I thought, this is not possible and never will succeed with that. And then he came back to me and he said, Annick, I've been looking behind your back what you're doing, and it's very interesting what you're doing. And I want to keep you continue doing it. And if you want, I can put all my people on it and help you a little bit with that. But then we have to go to the government and ask for some financial need. And he also helped me with that. So we went together to Brussels to present the project. And what was so interesting about brewing with herbs instead of hops. So he was completely turned, and I'm very, very excited about the whole thing.
And what did your father think?
Yeah, well...
He must have been on the tasting panel, right?
Not in the beginning. Not in the beginning. He was a little bit hesitated. Is she going to succeed? What is she doing now? And he was a little bit scared, I think. But then at the end, now he's very proud about it. Yeah.
Now, even though there aren't 280 distilleries here anymore, breweries, it's quite a crowded market in, beer in Belgium.
Oh, yes. Oh,
so
yes.
how did you find your way to get into places and get people to try it?
Well, a personal way of personal introduction. Like you can see here, receiving people, brewing on the spot, talking to people, what we are doing, and to keep them in conscious how you make a beer. So as you can see, we were full in the brewing process, and if somebody comes in here and asks some explanation, we can give it to them, and it's a different way of approach. And that's what I wanted to do as well, and also not too big of an installation, and not that the risk of the investment is not too high, so that we are not too forced to sell a lot, and that we can say, oh, what comes. And then from mouth to mouth, I think we got there, and we got a lot of introduction into the bars, and people love it. People also because we brew very natural, on a natural way. We don't filter. It's a stubborn way of brewing, and that's how we explain people what we're doing, and then that's how we got our position into the market, I think.
Well, I've got to try some of this.
Okay.
So should we open some bottles?
Sure, let's do that.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much to Annick for joining us today. If you're in Belgium, do not miss a chance to try one of her beers. Our cocktail of the week, the Wiesensour, was invented at Jasper's Corner Tap and Kitchen in San Francisco, California. It's a whiskey sour with a twist. You'll need 2 ounces of bourbon, 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lemon juice, 1/4 of an ounce of simple syrup, a bar spoon of orange marmalade, 2 dashes of orange bitters, and 2 ounces of Gruut wheat beer. Combine all the ingredients and gently shake with ice. Strain over fresh ice cubes into a highball glass, then garnish with a lemon twist. For more of what to drink while in Ghent, check out my Belgian posts on my blog, bestbitsworldwide.com. He may have lived in Bucharest when I interviewed him, but he was off to join his brother on a tiny island in Norway. Enigmatic, but full of chat once I got him going, Adrian Pudelshock, our next guest, will definitely be missed at Magellan's in Old Town Bucharest. Still, he leaves behind an amazing bar menu and the hope he will return after his big adventure. Until next time, bottoms up. For more information and links to everything you've heard about, plus a bit more, please visit bestbitsworldwide.com. Thanks for listening to Best Sips Worldwide, a spin-off of Best Bits Worldwide. Always remember the wise words of Oscar Wilde, all things in moderation, including moderation, and never drink and drive. Okay, I said that last part. Theme music is by Steven Shapiro and used with permission. You'll find me at the bar.